Glória Gaither are the songwriters of the century. They have sold nearly 10 million homecoming videos, and more than 1 million people go to their concerts every year. Add to that 5 Grammys and countless doves, and you might be surprised to find out it was all an interruption.
The writing together happened only after the fact. We were too much interested in other things. I had given up music. I hadn't totally given it up, but I thought it's probably not going anywhere.
I'm coming to the conclusion more and more the longer I live that God's will for our lives is the interruptions.
When Bill Gaither bumped into Gloria Sickle, both were focused on their careers as teachers.
Was it love at first sight?
I don't know, was it?
I don't know. It was interest at first sight. She was interesting.
And the kids helped.
She was feisty, and the kids said, "Hey, you know what? You have to get to know this lady."
We started going to lunch, and then one day he offered to pay for lunch. So I thought
That's a breakthrough.
Thing was a real breakthrough.
But Bill and Gloria's biggest breakthrough came after they married, and they started writing songs together.
Is there a specific song that was a breakthrough song for you two that people said?
He touched me. And little did we know, that all of a sudden that song would jump out. Let's see, that was in 63 or 64. Gloria and I were both still teaching at the time, and I would be out on the tractor mowing, and she would call me and say, "Jim's Myers is on the phone from New York." I said, "You're not going to believe this. Kate Smith just recorded He Touched Me. Jimmy Durante just recorded He Touched Me." I'd get off the mower and say, "Elvis Presley just recorded He Touched Me."
I said, "I'm not sure I like the phrase, and now I'm no longer the same. I think you can come up with a better line than that." But he couldn't, and so we left it, and that's been the line probably that everybody's loved the most, because that's where everybody fills in their own story. So my advice has not always been the good one.
Gloria became an integral part of the Gaither Trio, but even with their songwriting success, she and Bill dreamed of coming off the road and focusing on their new family.
What did that do to you? I mean, all of a sudden this had to bring attention to you, notoriety. This had to be a real watershed for you in your lives.
We had just had our first daughter, Suzanne, and I have a letter upstairs, which I have saved to show him several times, that says, "Honey, I just found out that the Imperials recorded He Touched Me. If this keeps up, we shouldn't have to be doing this singing and traveling more than another year."
Bill and Gloria have been doing this singing and traveling for close to 40 years, and they attribute much of their success to life in their beloved hometown of Alexandria, Indiana. And if you ask them the secret, they say that's pretty simple too.
Show up for work. We get up in the morning and show up for work, and what work is whatever's on our plate. We've had our grandson, who's 2, all week. That was my calling. And that wasn't something I'm doing on my way to my calling. That's my calling. I'll probably change his life a whole lot more than I'm going to change one of the 15,000 people that might come to a concert. Everything is a part of what God's up to in your life. So I think our job is to embrace it, everything, to embrace it all, and consider it God's will for this moment.
Often, Gloria believes God's will for the moment is the interruption.
If you go back and read the New Testament and the life of Christ, I think you will find that everything that made the book was an interruption. And somebody disassembled a roof and let a man down and interrupted Jesus' best speech, I'm sure. As long as we feel exasperated by the interruptions, God can't do what He wants to do in our lives. And let me tell you a story. We got a letter from a woman who said, "I'm a UPS driver. I deliver to this house on my route and nobody is ever home. I ring the doorbell and put the package on the porch. But every time I go to the door, there is this amazing music coming out of the window of the side of the house." So she said, "I began to plan my lunch hour so that I would be at that block during my lunch hour, and I'd park my UPS truck near that window and listen to this music. And I had never heard anything like it. I didn't know what it was, but it began to change my life. So she said I went to a Christian bookstore because it was stuff that was obviously Christian, and asked them if they knew what it was. And they said, yes, we do. It's the homecoming videos. So she said I rented a few and went home and watched them. And she said I gave my heart to the Lord.
Wow.
She put, P.S. I led my son and his family to the Lord last week. I don't know who lives in that house. This woman doesn't even know the story of the people who live in that house. Here's a woman who thinks her life is probably useless. She's in bed, but here are two families who've come to know the Lord because of the music coming out of their window. I mean, that's a God thing. And we can figure out all day how we're going to do wonderful, incredible things. It's really the interruptions that life is all about.
Bill says you never know where you might be when one of those interruptions comes along.
Ben Spear and I were doing music tracks. We worked until 10 or 11 and nothing was open to eat except Waffle House. So we had eaten our eggs. An obvious street person came in, homeless person came in, went up and talked to the lady who had waited on us, and then went back to the bathroom. I said, what did he want? He wanted eggs, but he didn't have any money. I said, well, get him whatever he wants, and we'd love to pay for it, just don't tell him who. As we left, Ben and I looked at him, and the look on his face, and I said to Ben, I said, you know something? And it was one of those moments where God invades your life, where I heard the scripture, when you've done it unto the least of these, my brother, you've done it unto me. And I said to Ben, because it was like an out-of-your-body experience, I said, Ben, we just fed Jesus. He said, what? I said, we just fed Jesus.